I've heard a study somewhere or data that says some of the richest people in the world, multi-billionaires, multi-millionaires, one of the habits that they all share, almost all of them share, is that they read, some of them, as much as a book a day, at least a book a week. And so these people are reading at a minimum 52 books per year. I've heard other research that has actually said that many of us believe, the high percentage, 90% of successful leaders, executives, that their lives would be better if they made the time to read. And they made more time to read, a book a month, a book a week, but they just don't do it. And a lot of them say the reason for that is that they just don't have the time. Today I'd like to share a couple of things. Number one, time is not found. Time is made. Time is not something that will come to us and just appear if we hope for it or if we're looking for it. We have to intentionally and deliberately manage it. And Rory Vaden, one of my favorite TED Talk speakers, authors, consultants, motivators out there, says something that I really like. It's that time management is simply self-management. There really isn't any time management. It's the managing of us. And I think that a lot of people don't like hearing that because it kind of puts the ownership or accountability on you. It sort of says, there is no time management. It's you. You have to manage you. So if you don't have time, you're not managing you very well. One of the things I've been doing for a while, and I'm really proud of it, is that I read a book a month. It's not 52 books a year, it's not 365 books a year, but it is 12 books a year, and I spent a lot of years of my life reading 0 books a year. In fact, for the years after college and then my master's program, for several years, I didn't read a single book. It was like formal education is over, school is done, you don't have to read, and so I didn't. I wasn't going to. That went on for probably 6 or 7 years. And then I began slowly in 2016 reading again, and now I read a book again every single month. And what I can tell you is that you have to schedule this, and so when you do your planning for the week, which if you've watched other videos of mine, you hear that I strongly recommend, you gotta block out time for it. You gotta figure out a place for reading to live and breathe and exist on your calendar. And if you put something over that time, hey, I was gonna read on Wednesday night, right before bed from 9 o'clock to 11 or 10 to 11 or 9:30 to whatever, and something goes in its spot, as it turns out, it becomes a good time to play with your kids and you really want to do that, then you pick it up and you move it somewhere else on your calendar. As I've read a lot this year, I can't tell you the number of things I've learned. People ask me a lot about the books I've read and what I'm learning. I'll just share a few of them that I've read this year. I'm actually in the middle of Take the Stairs right now, which is Rory Vaden's first book. Love it. It's all about commitment and sacrifice and grit and choosing things that are hard and a struggle because we want a better life. I read this book by Michael Singer called The Surrender Experiment. Very similar in certain parts to Rory's book. One of the big things I took away is how important it is for us to override our likes and our preferences and our comfort zone and actually do things that we don't feel like doing because we know that they're the right things and they're going to help us get to where we want to go. I read Jenna Kutcher's book, How Are You Really? This book came out, I think, about a year or two ago. It's been a sensation. Jenna has turned it into really, I think, a national masterpiece. Lots and lots of people reading this book and reviewing it online. It was a lot of connecting with yourself, listening to yourself, figuring out what your voice is really telling you, being comfortable in doing that, following your heart. It reminds me of a lot of the things that Mel Robbins talks about on her podcast and in her social media presence. I read the book Burnout Pains by Dr. Reggie Thomas. I wrote the foreword for this book, so this was a really great one, all about the symptoms and signs of burnout, the way to recover from burnout, how to prevent burnout, what to do if you've experienced burnout. Really, really great stuff. Just recently, I finished this book called What Happened to You by Oprah, and she also wrote this with Dr. Bruce Perry. And it was a lot of close looks at childhood trauma and our brains and programming and default behaviors and how to kind of recover from trauma and to heal from trauma and how to even recognize trauma, which I thought was very cool. I'm also reading this book right now called Extra Focus, Adult ADHD, and it's amazing how many people in our society live with ADHD, and ADHD actually affects them. And I've recently learned that I know a few of them, and so because of that, I really wanted to read this book to better understand them and figure out how I can support and show up for those people. And so those are just, let's see, 6 books right there that I've read this year that I love. I can't tell you how much stronger and better of a person I feel like when I am reading. It means that I'm learning new things, I'm able to grow, I'm able to develop, I'm expanding my brain cells and my stimuli and the things that I'm aware of. I develop a lot of self-awareness through reading. A lot of the books I read speak to me where I say, oh my gosh, I've done that. I felt that before. I didn't realize I was doing that until right here, right now. And so if you're curious and you're wanting to invest in yourself and grow, read, make the time to read. You will not find time to read. Reading won't just happen for you. You have to actually slow down and say, I am going to focus on this. Obviously, the audio and all the Audible world is a big thing right now. Lots of people say, I really can't make time to read. Again, I think that's a choice. I think that can be a little bit of an excuse or a cop-out. I think everyone can get through books if they just schedule 15 minutes a day to read. And I think most of us have 15 minutes when we first get up or right before bed to read. But ultimately, if you just really feel like, nope, I don't, reading Audible books and listening to them in the car as you drive or as you work out can be great. But the one piece of advice I have is to not be distracted while you're doing that and not be trying to multitask while you're doing that. I know a lot of us feel like, oh, I can do multiple things at once, but a lot of research and data says you really can't. You actually don't have the ability to focus on numerous things at the same time well. You might be carrying out 2 things at once, but your ability to do them well in both of them is lowered. So if you're going to read audibly, focus on it. Don't have your phone out. Don't also be texting someone or writing an email or surfing the web. Really listen to what you're hearing and absorb and digest it. I do want everyone to know that my belief is reading would change your life. Reading would help you be more successful and happier. Reading would provoke more development and growth and evolution in you. Reading is a powerful, powerful tool. But at the end of the day, most of us aren't doing it because it actually takes conscious, dedicated effort to go sit down with a book. And most of us are just lazy. We don't want to do that. It's hard. We have to sacrifice doing something else we might enjoy more, like watching TV. But reading is valuable and you can make time for it if you want. So with that, I hope everybody picks up a book, whether it's mine or somebody else's that they've been kind of eyeing, and makes a point of trying to read it before the end of the year. That's my call to action for you guys today. With that, everybody make a great day. Enjoy.